Voice-based technologies to me is a company that focuses on one, the void, right? That blank canvas which we can all draw and create from and create our own and pioneer our own paths. But more importantly, it's a quality of learning how to one create and learn from and use tools so you can learn to cultivate all of these concepts within yourself and turn them into something greater so you can develop your own listening, your own quality of life can improve, and how you even interface with the world starts to become more enriched. So to me, Void Space Technologies is a company that focuses on not just how the tools are used, but whenever you start to develop this quality, it naturally starts to expand into the rest of the world. And that's why we offer both physical, like individual support and earth support, because all of these things play together on the same team to create something greater for the world. And whenever that's something, all these things start to play together and to create something, the natural foundation as an individual and in the world starts to raise up. And that's the key point. And whenever you raise up, you start to interface with tools differently. You start to learn new things about yourself, and you want to keep evolving and doing something different. And to me, that's also what Void Space Technologies really values is as the progression happens, we want to meet it and continue growing because all of this is blossoming into something more beautiful. And let's meet it there and keep doing something from that foundation into something even more beautiful.
One of the things that stuck out to me there on like the individual side is it sounds like it's a lot about kind of helping people explore and like step into the highest version of themselves, learn a little bit more about themselves, play, learn about the concepts. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. A lot of the products that we have, you're and how we introduce it to the world is one of the key factors of how we play with void space technologies. That's why we use Explore when you go to our shop. It's you exploring all of these tools and how they what do they even look like? What do they mean? What does this thing do? And we share with you, right? We introduce yourself to it and you back and forth and how you interface with it. That's the exploration piece. That's the big thing. You can grab a tool like the PNR or the source seeds or even the clear source spray, whichever one you choose to do. And even just like touching it, that practice of noticing, oh, is something different here? Yes or no? Awesome. Either way, cool. You're experiencing something. And then you start to like it's the spray and you spray. It's like, oh wow, it smells really nice, right? That's already a change. And then how does it start to feel around you? And started to develop all these tools. And sometimes it might not happen for days. Sometimes it's immediately, it doesn't matter. But the quality of there's something physical you get to play with and it's changing something energetically. Awesome. There's that's now you knocking on a door and learning how to translate you knocking on that door and what everything is on the other side of that door looks like. It's like, oh, that actually feels like love, but I used to think it was just, greeting people and high-fiving people, but now I see the actual expansion of love in it. And to me, that's the biggest depth of playing with all of these products. And like the key factor as an individual is the exploration piece because when you start to recognize that there's deeper ways for you to interact with an object or person place or thing, it doesn't matter. That's when the real magic happens. That's when you get to start to ask yourself the real questions of, well, what do I want to do with this now and what does it mean to me? I'll go back to the example because PNR was one of the first ones where we recognized there was a tool. So we recognized first that when you're alone in your room and all the windows are sealed and the door's shut, when you're alone, you can process a certain way, right? There's no outside factors or anything really trying to get at you. You can turn your phone off and your level of processing is at a certain degree. And you're like, okay, I can allow myself to see more and feel more naturally and freely. I feel I can rest in different areas, or this is coming up to me for me to look at because I'm alone, right? Awesome. This quality of being able to interface with yourself, that felt so valuable. And the second you open the door, right, and there's potentials or you go hang out with people, you want to look at this like the same things that you did alone, but they interface differently. The way you talk to people, or you might bring something up and you get different highlights, and awesome. And that's that level of quality of play and learning to develop love and all of these concepts. But that quality of being able to experience that aloneness and how that works on your process, we found that whenever the coding of the PNR started, you can have it in your pocket and you can tap it 2 times and suddenly you feel your fields shift and your level of processing is that same quality of okay, I can now interface and see the stream of me for myself with myself and I can play out in the world, so I can actually start to interface with the world on a much more authentic level, on a much more real level, and learn what all these kinds of choices mean. Like, so that was the first key piece whenever we were looking at it at the beginning as an individual, being like, okay, I want to process much more clearly all the time. And then we were like, okay, so we can have this happen on a token. That's super easy. So then we started to make some more. We talked to a company to manufacture them. We made some more and we started to sell them just to like friends and family, like more in the community. And everybody started to notice. Like even my dad asked, like, can I have some more so you can have one in each pocket? I was like, yeah, of course. Like let's have fun with this. Like we're feeling something different. This is awesome. Let's do something with it. And that's when it started to develop into the greater idea of well, okay, let's actually we can help the whole world with this. Everybody can start to learn what it's like to process in this way. Awesome, let's do it. And then we started having all the conversations of, well, how much is this going to cost? How do we send it out there? How do we package it? How do we introduce people to it? And how like what are all these core values and the core being exploration and self-sourcing and discovery and letting that develop internally because then it turns into a community naturally of people just wanting to share cool stuff with each other.
Awesome. So at the beginning, when that was going on and you were just giving it to friends and family, was that just you and Jason at that point, or what did the team kind of look like
Mm.
at VST back then?
Yeah, the very early stages. So when we started the ideas a little bit before Void Space Technologies, it was me and Jason. We were just like, how we want to like help ourselves much more often and with greater tools. So it started very simply, and then it developed into a small team of four, where it was me, Jason, Chrissy, and Aubrey, and they were working with like shipment and also Aubrey with design. It was this core team that was just trying to figure it all out. It's like we have a lot of PNRs, we have source seeds, we have things we want to sell, and how do we do it and how do we interface, and we had to have a lot of communications with each other figuring out like okay, like we go meet with these clients and what do we do. So it was a very tight knit group and we had to have a lot of difficult conversations of wanting to ship across the world because we wanted to. It's like we want to ship everywhere, but then like customs came up and there were so many interesting conversations and then it started to develop. But yeah, that was a really fun time.
So what do you think, like, what was some of the biggest challenges that you guys face kind of from back there to where we are now? Because now we have a big product suite. We do ship internationally, pretty much all around the world. Um, so how did you get from point A to point B, and what did you learn, or what were some of the challenges you faced?
Oh man, there's been so many because like the challenges both being like external and internal, right? So the external challenges being the ones of how do we ship, how do we create the packaging, how do we actually create the packaging with all the level of like quality through each layer of we want to introduce this to somebody from when it gets to their door and they open it and they feel that level of exploration and invitation and all of these concepts and this level of actual quality and magnificence that we have within our like that we want to have within ourselves and in the tools that we create for the rest of the world, right? So a lot of those conversations of how to translate our values to either contractors or clients or with testimonials or on our website was just like how do we even start to convey this message verbally, right? There were so many cool conversations we had back and forth of like, oh yeah, that's actually this word or that's actually this word or how does this mean or how does this look like if I want to enter like if I want to shake your hand and tell you it's like, hey, I work with PNRs. What does that mean? Like, how do you do it without, sounding crazy? But it's like there's actually a grounded way because there's also science behind all of this. And how do you make it so exploration and self-discovery are at the core of all of this? Right. And then there was so many conversations where even when we were trying to ship across the world to even to Canada, where customs would show up when we were sending source seeds, and because they're called source seeds, it would like give us a note. It's like, oh, so you're trying to send a plant into this country? It's like, no, no, it's not a plant. We just call it a seed, but it's not actually a seed. It's a little ceramic bead. So there's so many like also misunderstandings that we had to clear up with so many of these like companies. It was a lot of it was a struggle, but when you look back at it, obviously it was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And then on the internal side, like some of the challenges and the difficulties were realizing what kind of tools we wanted to build were actually valuable and what was worth actually stepping forward into. So we had a lot of ideas to create tools that were to help the body specifically around digestion and around blood flow and oxygen levels. And one of the first ideas was actually creating gummies with certain vitamins and M states in them. So you eat them, you chew them up, you could have them once a day, and they could help with certain properties, and it could help you translate light in this way. Like to us, that was like, oh my God, yes, this is clearly such a next step. But there were so many factors in there coming in of like wanting to find a manufacturer or wanting to create packaging and all that stuff. And it just wasn't working out. And we realized that as a core value for VST, what we actually want to work on is not just trying to have either solutions or cool products in the world to highlight or help people look at this specific thing. The most important key note for us is how do we create a foundation and stably and then learn how to stably start to raise that foundation to a higher frequency so you can, as an individual, play on these bigger and greater games. So we had to like have a difficult conversations between like especially Jason and I, difficult conversations like what does it mean? Like what do we actually have to let go of as ideas or products and go back to the core of maybe it is just now the PNR and the source seeds. That's it. And we learn how to ship those and we learn how to interface with the customers and how to actually teach about this product. And from there, okay, we had to be like, we had great ideas, but no, actually, what's more valuable is how to learn how to stand on our own 2 feet. And that's all that matters, right? That's all that matters is how, when you're interfacing with these tools, to learn that there's a greater game, period. And then when we started to learn that lesson, we started to recognize, oh, now there's room for a different kind of product to like add M states to actually translate the light. And that's what we wanted anyway, right? With the gummies, that's like the natural progression. But it turns out that when we're working at it stably, it ends up looking like this. And here come the M states with all the phases of learning how to translate light with your cells and in your body to turn it into greater resources. So a lot of those, like, and I'm putting it in quote, obviously, like struggles for like developing the lessons of how to rein it in and realize what's actually the most valuable thing here.